guys, it's Katie, and I'm here today to do the mid-year book freakout tag. As you guys might know, this is a tradition on Booktube to do this every year around the mid-year point, and since this is going up sometime in July, it's now mid-year. So my mid-year ended in May, but because bar things are going on, I'm doing this now. So let's just jump right on in. Number 1, best book you've read so far in 2019. That's probably going to go to The Winter of the Witch by Catherine Arden. I absolutely loved that book so much. I loved it. I read all of the books in pretty close succession. So I started with The Baron and the Nightingale. It was the last book that I read in 2018. And then I jumped right on into The Girl in the Tower. And then I had to wait like a week or so before I could get my hands on The Winter of the Witch. But honestly, it was so well done. It was one of my favorite conclusions to a trilogy, and I loved how everything wrapped up. I loved the story that it was telling. It was just so well done. Loved it a whole ton. Number 2. Best sequel you've read so far in 2019. Well, technically Winter of the Witch was a sequel, but because I already talked about that one, I'm going to talk about Battle of the Labyrinth by Rick Riordan. I read pretty much the entire Percy Jackson and the Olympian series earlier this year, and I had such a really great time reading all of them. It was just very nostalgic and fun for me. I'd never read them before, but I know the myths and I know the general storyline pretty well. So I just loved it. But Battle of the Labyrinth was my favorite of the series for me. I just love anything to do with Icarus and Daedalus so much, and it was just really interesting and really fun and just so good. Weirdly enough, I've read quite a few sequels this year so far, but I guess for now I'm probably going to say that one is my favorite at the moment. Number 3, a new release you haven't read yet but want to. Oh man, that is quite a list. Priory of the Orange Tree by Samantha Shannon, and We Hunt the Flame by Hafsa Fazal, and Descendant of the Crane by Joan Hay, and The Wicked Saints by Emily A. Duncan. Those 4 books are probably up there on the books that I want to read that I haven't yet releases. However, if you know me at all, I rarely read new releases in the year that they're published. I have a lot of backlogged books, and I like to work my way through those before I get to the new releases, so they're not really new by the time I get to them. But those are some that I'm probably going to try and prioritize more than others. There have been, I think, 2 or 3 new releases that I've actually already read this year. Really good, and I enjoyed them. But those are some I haven't gotten to yet, and one day I will get there. Number 4, most anticipated release for the second half of the year. Honestly, that's a good question. I'm not sure I know of many books that are coming out later this year, so I'm just gonna say I don't know, or none of them, and move on from there. But I'm sure there are some that will come up or that I'll hear about, and I'll be like, oh, I'm actually really interested in this book and I can't wait to get to it, but I don't know any right now. If I find out any in the next bit after I've filmed this, I will leave some down in the description for you guys, but honestly, I don't know. Number 5, biggest disappointment. Okay, so, I mean, there were a few, but we all know which one I'm going to talk about. And that is Green Rider by Kristen Britton. Oh boy, I had such high expectations for this book going into it, and I mean like through the roof expectations, which I rarely, if ever, do when I'm reading a book. But that one just had a different like personal connection to me because I had written a story that was similar to it and I just loved the premise. It sounded so good. And then I read it and I was severely disappointed. The plot was very disjunct. It just did not flow properly. The characters were okay. They just fell flat. They didn't really have much depth to them. I just didn't care about anything. The world building was pretty interesting at times, but like I also just, because it didn't flow well, it just kind of like came out of nowhere. It just did not work. The writing was super choppy. There were so many like plot holes and just really lazy writing. It just did not, and I mean did not work for me. The last third was okay, and I mean like actually okay, but overall it was just not a good time, and ultimately because of it I have sort of decided not to continue the series. It took a lot for me to get to that point because normally I don't just, abandon a series right in the middle, but I was just so incredibly disappointed that I couldn't continue on. So Green Rider is definitely my most disappointing read of the year so far. Number 6, biggest surprise. Honestly, and this might surprise some of you guys, but my biggest surprise was Crooked Kingdom by Leigh Bardugo. You guys know, or if you've been here for any amount of time, you know that I am not a huge Leigh Bardugo fan. I have never been a fan of hers. Like, I hated, and I mean hated, the Grisha trilogy. It was just awful in every aspect of the word, and I agree with a lot of people about it, but I also have more personal reasons for my hatred, and it just was not a good time. Six of Crows, while I found it to be better, it was better written, the characters were at least a little bit more interesting, it just didn't give me what I wanted. I was still disappointed, and I just didn't love it. I was just not feeling it. But I was interested enough, but like at the same time I just felt very apathetic about the whole thing. So it was just kind of meh about it. But I read Crooked Kingdom back in April, I believe, and I actually really enjoyed it. I flew through it. I was invested in the story when I was reading it. I really liked the characters. I liked their overall arcs, and maybe it was just because my faves were more prominent in it. Wylan and Dresper, my small children, I love them. I love them. But I don't know, but I just felt more connected to the story. It just felt better to me overall. And I was pleasantly surprised that I liked it because I was going in expecting to really, really not like it. And the fact that I did like it was very surprising to me. Number 7, favorite new author, debut or new to you. So I'm going to go with a debut author. I really, really like C.L. Beaumont. She's new. She came out with her first book back in April, and it follows these two gay surfers in the 1970s, and it's just so well done. I can't wait to see what else she comes out with, but I just really, really enjoyed her work, and I would definitely recommend it to you guys if you're interested in romance / adult romance that has sports elements in it, because it was just super good. It's super atmospheric, it's very immersive, the storyline is pretty believable, and I just fell in love with the characters, the world, and the writing, and I just want more people to read it. So she's definitely my new favorite author. Number 8, newest fictional crush. Good question. Loved Wylan. Like, I really connected with him in a very deep way. I don't know what exactly it is, but I just felt connected with him in certain ways, probably because he has a slight learning disability, even though it's not like quite classified as that, and just his overall like life experiences. I just felt really connected with him. So I guess you could kind of say I have a bit of a crush on him, so I'm like a fan of that. Of course, Evelyn Hugo from The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. Yeah, I read that back in April and I ate that up, and it was just such an incredible book. I loved it with everything. It was just, oh my god, so good. I loved it a whole ton. So, yes, I love Evelyn Hugo a whole lot. Number 9, newest favorite character. Aside from Evelyn Hugo, because yes, please, I'm probably going to say Circe from Circe by Madeline Miller. I just really loved this portrayal of Circe. I thought it was incredibly well done, and I just really felt connected to Circe. I loved her story. I loved how it was written. I loved experiencing all the things that she was going through. So yeah, I think I'm going to pick Circe for that question. Number 10, a book that made you cry. There were a few books this year that made me tear up, but I didn't downright like sob cry. All of my emotions have been placed into these books down here. So I'll name the few that made me tear up in parts, and they are The Winter of the Witch by Catherine Arden, The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo by Taylor Jenkins Reid, Sort of Crooked Kingdom by Leigh Bardugo. I had definitely a little prickly eyedness at points in the book, not the part that you're thinking of. I actually didn't cry during that part, and you can watch my review and hear about why or why not, whatever. But there was a part, of course, dealing with Wilde. If you know the book, you might know which part I'm talking about. But yes, probably those 3 books are the ones that made me tear up at least so far. Number 11, book that made you happy. That's probably going to go to The Sea Ain't Mine Alone by C.L. Beaumont. I loved the ending in particular. It just warms your heart a whole lot. It was just really lovely and I loved it. So I'm probably gonna say that one. I just felt so happy with the ending of it. Number 12, favorite book to film adaptation that you saw this year. Okay, so I've only seen, I think, 2 movies in theaters this year, and both of them are Marvel movies. So I haven't seen any book to film adaptations this year, at least new ones, because I'm always watching Game of Thrones, Lord of the Rings, and Harry Potter, so I like rewatch those a lot. And I love all of them. But as for new book to movie adaptations, I have not seen any. So, none. 13. Favorite review you've written and or filmed this year. I don't really write reviews. I'm hoping to start sometime probably next year. But I think I've only written 1 review this year, and it was fine. But as for the reviews that I filmed this year, I don't know. I'm pretty happy with my Winter Night Trilogy review, and I'm also really proud of my Percy Jackson and the Olympians series review. But all of the reviews I did this year I'm pretty satisfied with. I think they went a lot better than some of my reviews in the past have gone, and I've also done less of them, so I just feel like, I don't know, I feel pretty satisfied with how they all turned out. But at the same time, I feel like even though a lot of people like my reviews, or I've been told people like my reviews, I don't feel comfortable doing them in some ways. I feel like I'm not very good at articulating my thoughts on books and putting them out there for people to enjoy and whatnot. But obviously that's not the case, because as I said, I've had several people come up to me and tell me, oh my god, your reviews are the best thing ever. And that makes me really happy inside. But yeah, those are probably my two favorite reviews, or two reviews that I feel pretty good about so far this year. 14, the most beautiful book you've bought so far this year or received. So first of all, I don't really receive a ton of books because I read like 98% of my books on my Kindle, which is, you know, right here. It's my boy. Take him everywhere, literally. So it's like hard to say. I don't do the physical book thing a whole lot, but one book that I really, really like that I got earlier this year is One Damned Thing After Another, The Chronicles of St. Mary's, book 1 by Jodi Taylor. And I just basically think, if I remember correctly, that this is a book about like time travel historians, I think, or something along those lines, and it just sounds like everything I ever wanted in a book. I just want a really good historical time travel fantasy novel, like the Magic Treehouse books, but for adults, or even for young adults. Like, I just want more books like that. Like, there's another book that I've been trying to get my hands on for a while, but like my library doesn't have it, and I literally can't get it anywhere. Like, I can't get it at the library, can't get it on ebook. I'm just screaming inside because I want it, but this one is filling that hole at one point or another. I want it. I wanted it, and I want to read it immediately. And the cover is just lovely. I love the cover so much. And I'll post a picture here, of course, so you guys can see a little bit more of what I'm talking about. But it's definitely a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful cover, especially with that spiral. I love, love, love the shape of the spiral. It's just my favorite thing, plus like the landscape at the top is just really cool, and I'm just a huge fan of this cover. Okay, great, glad we established that. And finally, number 15, what books do you need to read by the end of the year? I have got quite a list. If you go to my Goodreads page, I have a shelf titled TBR 2019, and there are currently 36 books there, and it's kind of a problem because I have no idea if I'm going to get through them or not. Fingers crossed that I will, but I'm going to talk about, I think, my top 5 books on that list. So we have Traitor's Blade by Sebastian de Castell. It's kind of a Three Musketeers retelling, and I just need it so badly. Like, I need to read that book like yesterday. I can't wait to read that series. I'm super excited. And then I finally need to read An Ember in the Ashes by Sabaa Tahir. I've heard pretty mixed things about it, but I've heard more good things about it from people that I trust. So I'll be interested to see where I fall and if I really like it or not. I'll be interested to see how that all pans out, but I feel like it's time to finally read that book. Then I need to read A Game of Thrones. I am going to start it. I did not like the ending at all of the show, and I know the books are probably going to end similarly, because I know the major plot points were told to the directors and the writers and producers when, like, 5 or 6 years ago. But I want to see if the books are different in any way. I want to see and make up my mind for myself, because even from friends, I've heard mixed things about them. Like, you either love them or you don't. There's very little in between. So I'll be interested to see where I fall, and I'll be buddy reading that with an IRL friend sometime in the fall. And I've got to read The Pillars of the Earth by Ken Follett. Like, I have been dying, and I mean dying, to read this book for a while. And yeah, I'm a medievalist, right? And this is all about building a medieval cathedral in some kind of like mythical town in England, or in this like mythical city in England or something. And I just need that because it's also got like political intrigue and like a murder mystery, and just give me the book. Like, it is, as Cara said a while back, like back in I think December or January, OMG, that is the most Katie book I have ever seen. Yes, it is. It is the most me book you will ever see in your entire life. It's just me in book form. Like, if you added in fantasy elements, like, it would literally be me in book form. Like, hi, welcome to my life. I am medieval garbage. Welcome. And then the last book that I really, really want to read before the end of the year is Red, White, and Royal Blue by Casey McQuiston. I actually got this book for myself as a birthday gift back in May, and I think I even read it back then, but like, I hadn't read it before I filmed this. I just need to read that book. It just sounds super cute and like everything I need right now. And in some ways it sounds like it would be like the perfect plot for a Murthern fanfic, because it follows the romance between the Prince of Wales, aka Prince of England, and the president's son. And it just, I mean, come on. If you watched Merlin at all, just picture the epicness that would be, like Merlin and Arthur. Because it's like, I think it's a hate to love romance. Like, they really don't get along, and then they cause like a public scandal, and they have to like do this publicity stunt thing, and like, just give me all of the things. Like, that sounds super cute, but like, I'm just picturing all of the epic things that could just whatever. You know, I'm shipper garbage. So this is where my mind is like all the time. Kill me. Okay, great. But anyway, those are probably the top 5 books that I want to get to before the end of the year. But I do want to get to all 36 of these books before the end of the year. So we'll see if I can make that happen. I'm going to hopefully be able to start reading again in August sometime. And we'll see how I'm feeling at that point, and if I can manage to make that work. We'll see what happens, but for sure those 5 books are going to happen at some point or another. Anyway, that's about all I've got for you guys today. Feel free to let me know down below some of your answers to these questions, because I'd love to know, despite me being on hiatus. I don't care. But other than that, you guys know the drill. I have both of my social media links down below in the description. I have a Twitter and a Goodreads, which are both linked down below. And I also have my fandoms and ships page down below, because people seem to be interested in that. But other than that, I'll catch you later in another video with you guys again soon. Bye!